Spring may be in the air, as they say, but the economy is still in winter. Well, today was a beautiful day in March. The sun is out, the days are longer, the nights are shorter, the lambs are jumping around in the fields. Everything feels happier in the springtime, and we know that summer is around the corner and will soon be even better weather. Well, that's great, but as far as the economy is concerned, I don't think we're in spring at all. I think the economy is still very much stuck in the winter, and maybe it's just about going into winter and could be there for a long time. So there'll be no summer months for the economy, and that's what's important to me. Markets tend to go in cycles, just like the seasons. You get a few good years and a few bad years. It's just the way it is, and this is nothing to do with recent events and the war. This is to do with the normal cycle of events. We've had a bull run on the markets, for the last 12, 14 years, and the same thing with property. So things can't always keep going up like that forever. And I certainly think they are topped out with very high prices. We've also got a situation where inflation has reached a 40-year high in the UK and in America. Now, you might not think inflation is that important. So what, a bit of inflation? But inflation is officially running at nearly 8% in America and certainly over 7% here. What does that mean to you? It means that everything in the shops and the things you buy are all going up in price. And we know the price of everything is literally not gone up by 7%, it's gone through the roof. And this war in Ukraine is causing a fuel crisis, and it will cause a food crisis as well, because most of the wheat comes from Ukraine and Russia, and a lot of oil comes from Russia as well. So, you can see this happening. It's just happening. And we know that in the shops, prices have gone up by a lot more than 7%, and building materials have gone up a lot more than 7%, and fuel and gas and petrol have gone up by a lot more than 7%. So this is a real crisis that's coming, and that will cause a recession. Why? Because next thing you'll have is workers demanding more pay, especially in the public sector. They say, well, look, things have gone up. I'm not happy with the usual 1 or 2%. I want 5%, 6%, 7%. And then those prices have to then be passed on to the customer. And then eventually there'll be less jobs around. Look at last week. P&O Ferries just laid off hundreds of workers without warning on Twitter, and then replaced them with agency staff. How would you cope if you lost your job? How would you manage to pay your bills? Could you pay your bills? Do you have sufficient savings to pay your bills? And how long would those savings last? So what will you do? Think about those questions though. And what will you do in this recession? How are you going to survive the coming recession? Maybe you're in a business. Maybe you need to rethink the way you're doing business. Maybe you're in a job and you have to look at, is your job safe? And are you as a person safe if the company should choose to downsize? Okay. Now, we know that in a recession, people are going to lose a job. So you've got to make yourself really indispensable to that employer, or you've got to make your business much better than the competitors. But look, I want to give you 5 very simple inflation busting tips. If you just need to try and get through this and save as much money as possible, I want to give you 5 tips that can just literally from tomorrow help you start saving money right away. Okay, well, the first thing is look at loyalty cards and money saving rewards websites. Now, you often go into a shop and they'll say, do you have a loyalty card? Do you have a Nectar card? Do you have a Tesco's card? And most people not really, because they tend to be quite small fry. The amount you're saving on them it can be quite small. But if you accumulate these points over months and years, the savings can be quite significant. And you don't just have one loyalty card. You can have loyalty cards with all of the big stores now, and some of the non-food stores as well. And it's worth collecting those points, because then you get discounts on things. And if you shop around and you are clever, you can save quite a lot of money on your shopping bill by using the points carefully and wisely. One of my family members uses these things all the time. And she manages to save a lot of money by using these loyalty cards. I haven't been a big user of them in the past myself. You've also got to watch that if you get a loyalty card with an expensive supermarket like Marks and Spencer's or Waitrose, you might be getting your points on the card, but you're paying a lot more for your goods. So you've still got to shop around and find the cheapest deal by going to maybe the cheaper supermarkets and saying, well, look, I won't go for that brand of coffee or cornflakes. I'll buy the cheaper one. I mean, these things are fairly obvious, but using a loyalty card is one thing that can just help you that much further. And with those loyalty cards, there are also websites like Quidpro, where you can find something in the shop and then the website will tell you whether you can get it cheaper online. Now, my sister that I mentioned just there, she showed me her app, and she'd actually saved over the last few years £1,120 and 15p. She actually showed me the figure on the phone. It was unbelievable because she was using it on car hire, on shopping, on virtually anything. So have a look at those websites. They're very interesting because the savings can be much larger than you think. It's not just about a penny in the pound and that sort of thing. And then definitely look at the loyalty cards that you get with your super. Now, you might not be in this country, but I'm sure they've got similar things in most Western countries. But in the UK, it tends to be Tesco's are the big ones, John Lewis, Waitrose, and Sainsbury's, who have the Nectar cards that you can also use in petrol stations as well. Definitely worth looking at those, especially when things are getting tighter. I would still shop around yourself, but these websites can help you even more. You can even get websites where you can scan a barcode and see whether you can buy it cheaper. I know it sounds a bit fanatical, but when prices are going up and your wages are not going up as well to match those price rises, you've got to look at other ways of saving without necessarily going without or cutting back so much. You can probably still have the same lifestyle, but get things cheaper and sometimes the same things that you want that you would normally just go and buy. I'm sorry, shops, if you don't like this, but people have to make their decisions and make the right decisions for themselves, even if it means you're not buying from that high street supermarket. Don't forget, the high street supermarkets had no qualms about putting all the smaller retailers out of business, so you must feel the same way when you're trying to save money. Now, I like using stores. I do like using stores, but sometimes you have to look around and use the online services and use some of these websites that can help you save a lot of money. Okay, the second thing is to look at your savings and maximise the returns on your savings. Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that NatWest Bank had not passed on 2 interest rate rises to their savers, and which is disgusting because they're giving their savers next to nothing. So you've got to look at maximising your return. I think, I was with a lady that has quite a lot of money with the bank, and I was going in to help her. She's 90 years old. And I think she could easily treble her returns that she's getting just by moving the money either across the road or to an online service with a national bank, because she's getting a very poor return. But like a lot of people, they just can't be bothered. It's just too much hassle for them. But if you can be bothered, you can make a lot more money on your savings. Then look at the ISAs, the tax-free savings that you can get before the end of this tax year, maybe pensions as well. But definitely see your advisor and try and maximize the returns on your savings, because if you combine getting more money making your money work harder and stretching your money further by making savings, that can be quite substantial in terms of surviving these very tough times ahead, because we don't know how long it's going to last. The third thing you can do is to get rid of that credit card debt, and if you can't pay it off, make a plan to pay it off, maybe pay that extra bit every month to clear it. And meanwhile, switch the card to an interest-free or a lower interest rate deal so that you're saving that money on the interest. And then using that saving that you're making on the interest, rather than spending that money, pile it into paying off the capital that you owe on that card so you can clear that debt, because that interest is killing you. And especially when you're earning nothing on maybe the money that you got in the bank at the same time. You might as well clear that debt so that you've got more money, more disposable income in your pocket to save and to do better things with. Don't give it to the banks, keep it in your own pocket. So that's the third thing then. And then the fourth thing is to now get control of your finances, right? You must get control of those finances so that you can start to just make sure that you're in control of your money, and then you can start learning how to become financially free. And the first step in that is literally to get control of your finances immediately. And I'll come back to that in a second. Now, those are a fairly, might sound like fairly obvious tips there, but you can do other things as well. I think generally look at not only shopping around, but maybe don't have that brand loyalty that you might be hanging on to. Brand loyalty means you must have that favorite butter or that favorite cheese, or you must have that brand of coffee. Now I like coffee as well, but when needs come to must, you need to look at how you can save that money, because for a family going out and spending money on their shopping, it can be quite substantial if you can just maybe switch to different brands, or just find a cheaper brand, or go down to that Aldi and Lidl store where it's things are pretty good there. You get some really good stuff, you get some great wines, you get some great products. Maybe not as much choice as Tesco's or Sainsbury's, but it can certainly make a big difference to you. And so those are just 5 quick tips there that can really help you to get through this recession and make substantial savings on your expenditure, and also get a better return on your investment. So just run through this again. Look at loyalty cards and money saving websites that can mean that you can buy things on those websites, but that you can go to a shop and say, now can I get this product cheaper online, and the website will immediately tell you. And then they give you points as well, so they're giving you back money on everything you spend there. And some of these apps will give you, they'll put £20 on your app just for downloading the app on your phone, right? So that's number one. Second thing is to maximize the return on your savings and investments. That's very, very important. And your investments could be property, it could be tenants that you're looking at, it could be your savings that are invested in the stock market, but also just making sure that you've put your tax-free allowances into your ISAs and that sort of thing, and your pensions. And then number three is to clear the credit card debts. And at the same time, if you can't do it immediately, switch those credit cards into an interest-free deal or a lower interest rate deal, which will give you that breathing space to then pay off that capital a little bit quicker. And then the fourth thing is to start thinking about the brand loyalty that you have to certain products, so that maybe if you can ditch the brand loyalty that you have for a certain type of, whether it's jam or butter or even more expensive items, that you can just say, well, look, if I can get, or wine, for instance, if you're buying a couple of bottles of wine a week, maybe look at some of the deals that you can get in Lidl and Aldi, and you might find you can get a pretty good wine for much less. I mean, I was buying Côte de Rhône in Aldi a couple of days ago, and it's £4.69, and it's pretty good. It's just as good as Marks and Spencer's Côte de Rhône for £7.99. So that's just one example there. That's nearly half the price. So look at that. Look at the brand loyalty, and don't be sticking to those brands. Loyalty doesn't pay when you're dealing with banks and your savings, and it doesn't pay when dealing with brands. Sometimes you've got to switch to get the best deals. And then finally, really sit down and get control of your finances, whether that's with your advisors or just with your family, and really stop spending more than you earn. That's a killer. If you're just overspending and then you're going into debt each month, that will eventually bring you down and even lead to the bankruptcy court. So you've got to do that. Now, winters are tough, but they never last forever, right? Like the farmer who prepares in the winter for the next season coming up. He says, well, I've got to do this, I've got to get that crop done, get that bed down for the winter. But we know that when the spring comes, like in Ireland, my family in Ireland, we're all sheep farmers, so they know that spring's coming now. At the end of the winter, and the lambing season is there. A very busy time for them. And then in the spring, they're preparing for the summer months, getting in the hay and all these sorts of things, preparing for the autumn and winter. So the farmers have their seasons, and now is the time for you to not only survive in this recession, but come out stronger and even thrive in it. Remember, in the winter, a lot of people will hibernate in the winter and do nothing, and some people will literally pass away in the winter, but other people get out there and enjoy and ski down mountains. So it's all a matter of how you look at the winter, but we're definitely in the winter. So now's the time to start looking at how you can survive and thrive in the winter. And to help you do this, I want you to check out a brand new training that I've put up, which will help you not only get control of your finances immediately, but will teach you how to become financially free in the next 28 days. It's absolutely free. Just click on the link and I'll take you through my Smart Money Manager principle, which is SMART, which starts off with spend wisely and avoid consumer debt. M is manage your money. A is accumulate wealth over time, and I'll be talking about how you can accumulate wealth, maybe in property and stock markets. Then R is for review, like we're saying now, review your savings and investments. I'll take you through a process of how you can do that. And then T is for track your income and expenditure. I'll give you a tool to help you track your income and expenditure, immediately get control of your finances. So do check out that training. It's a substantial training, and you've got to be ready to take notes there, because it's full of useful tips and training to help you get control of your finances and learn how to become financially free in the next 28 days. So thanks for listening. Do check out that brand new free training. It's just going up this week, and I want you to really use that. So I'll see you on the other side in that brand new training. Thanks.